Hi, I'm Rich Torrey. Welcome to another Level Up Cartooning. All you ever need to follow along with me is a pencil and paper. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? Now, before we get started, make sure you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button as it helps this channel to grow, and hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. So last week we expanded on our lessons using simple shapes to build characters, including not just circles, but ovals. We drew Tweety, the Brain from Pinky and the Brain, and Squidward. In all three cases, we built their heads using one oval for their cranium and another oval for their cheek and mouth area. Today I thought we'd expand on that a little with three characters that used two overlapping ovals to build their overall head shape, a tall oval and a wide oval. As you will see, all three have a very similar process in the way their heads are constructed, but all three are very different characters. As a refresher, the focus of this exercise is to get us in the habit of breaking down the characters we're about to draw into simple, easy to draw shapes. And this starts with training our brains to think that way the moment we first look at the character we're about to draw. Okay, so let's draw. Today we're going to start with Gumball Watterson from Cartoon Network's incredibly creative show, The Amazing World of Gumball. Gumball's head is constructed with a cranium oval that is almost a circle, along with an overlapping lower face oval that is wider than it is tall. Gumball's entire body is just under 2 heads tall. In other words, however big you draw Gumball's head, his entire body is just under 2 of those tall. One more thing, as I've mentioned in our last few videos, in each of the 3 drawings we do today, we'll be drawing using the Level Up Cartooning process. In step 1, we lightly draw a roadmap of the character. Step 2, we rough out the features of that character, still drawing lightly. And finally, in step 3, we draw in the details. And while this is the final step, I caution you against drawing too dark, even at this point. Okay, so let's draw Gumball Watterson from The Amazing World of Gumball. So there's our drawing of Gumball. Let me pause here just to remind you that the purpose of this exercise is to get you to start immediately breaking down characters you're drawing into those simple shapes. Have that in mind as we draw our second character, another Cartoon Network luminary, Steven Universe. Like Gumball, Steven's head is made up of 2 ovals. In his case, for the cranium we're using a taller than wide oval, and for his lower head, a more wider than tall oval. Also, Steven's body is another oval. As far as his overall size, Steven is just over 2 heads tall. In other words, however tall his noggin is, his entire body is just over 2 times that height. Okay, so let's draw Steven Universe. And there you have it, Steven Universe. Which brings us to our final character, constructed using 2 ovals for his head. Rounding out yet another insane group, we're going to draw Peter Griffin from Family Guy. Like Steven Universe, the first oval we draw for Peter Griffin is his cranium, taller than it is wide. And then a second oval for his lower face, which in Peter's case is enormous. Think Fred Flintstone with a watermelon in his mouth. Huge. Also, like Steven Universe, Peter Griffin's body is another oval, although much bigger, like he swallowed Steven Universe. The tallest of our 3 characters today, Peter, is a little under 3 heads tall. In other words, however tall we draw his head, his entire body is a little under 3 of those tall. Okay, so let's draw Peter Griffin from Family Guy. And that's how you do it. There you have it, 3 very different characters constructed with overlapping ovals: Gumball, Steven Universe, and Peter Griffin. So how do you think you did? Understand, if you've never drawn any of these very different characters before, you can't expect to have drawn them perfectly. You notice I don't spend time coloring our simple oval characters during this video because I want my lesson to focus solely on the drawing process. More specifically, the idea of constructing characters using simple shapes and then building them using the level up cartooning process. And now you have the secret formula, the process for drawing 3 more characters. And with that, you can draw them again and again. And by all means, color them when you're done. I promise each time you draw Gumball, Steven Universe, or Peter Griffin, it'll be a little better and a little easier. I also promise the more you work with me, the better you're going to get at all of your cartoon characters. So I'd love to see your drawing of our 4th crazy group of characters using simple shapes. If you can, take a picture and post it on either Facebook or Instagram. And don't forget to include the hashtag #LevelUpCartooning. I hope you had as much fun as I did with this one. Remember to subscribe, and thanks for joining me. Until next time, keep drawing, my friends.